Boy, do we have a very exciting video for you guys today. Welcome back to another video in which we are going to be going over ticker symbol NIO, baby. NIO just had pretty intense earnings today in the morning, and I just wanted to go over really quick what exactly were the high-level notes from that earnings that dropped in the morning. You saw the price shoot up and then shoot right back down. So let's kind of talk about why that is, what is going on with the company's direction, and then we'll go over the chart really fast. But I wanted to start with NIO Q3 2025 earnings highlights. NIO released its unaudited Q3 2025 financial results on November 25th, 2025. We know that, right? Stock reacted positively, rising approximately 3% in pre-market as investors focus on improved bottom line and delivery momentum. So what this is kind of a recap of what we talked about in our last video. NIO is rapidly improving their bottom line result by focusing on things like margin, like expanding their sales or their deliveries, right, while growing the sales. So total revenues plus 18.5%, and that is no small task when you talk about the downturn that has been going on in the economy, particularly with people's, I want to say the index. What is the index? Consumer sentiment is at decade lows right now, guys. Look it up if you don't believe me. I mean, you have the stock market, the crypto market in extreme fear at the same exact time that people are getting a little tighter with their wallets, right? They're clenching their purse. Slightly below analyst consensus. Vehicle deliveries plus 40.8%, baby. Record quarterly high, near the low of guidance. October deliveries hit a monthly record of 40,397 units. That is a almost 100% year-over-year intake. You saw the net loss lowest since Q3 of 2022, aided by R&D expense cuts. And then you saw gross margin stay flat, but still highest in past 3 years, boosted by vehicle margin improvements and supply chain efficiencies. You saw the other thing that I thought was really cool was cash position, bolstered by 1.6 billion equity raise in September 2025. So you saw 3.6 or 36.7 billion cash and equivalents, which is absolutely amazing to see from NIO. Strong uptake. This is just the highlights after you go over the KPIs, the key performing indicators, right, that all the companies talk about. So it goes over strong intake for the newer models, the OVO L90 and the SUVs, as well as brand progression or expansion as it begins to get an uptick in deliveries, which is amazing to see. But what this did for the charts, what did this do for the charts? Absolutely nothing. You saw a pretty fat nothing burger today, pretty much mirroring the previous day's candle almost exactly. I mean, you saw what was the low? 538. And the low here was 539. Low before that was 538. So you have really used that 538 level as significant support here. And I'm kind of curious as to why. I mean, you have seen multiple bounces, but inevitably you could call this pretty much the exact same thing. I guess this was, what was this low? 535. So the low off of IPO was 535. Kind of makes sense as to why you're seeing so much resistance and stubbornness here. But inevitably what matters to me, in my opinion, not financial advice, is are you able to close above 560 this week? There is no more important battle than that battle right there. And considering the positive earnings we just saw, an actual beat in earnings expectations, which I know not a lot of people were expecting. I would expect this thing to turn around and begin to cruise higher after this kind of jumbled up price action during earnings, the earnings chop, the good old earnings. So if that does happen, if you see that reversal and a reclaim or a retest of 560, what I'm expecting here is further consolidation in this channel. Now, if you break here, amazing, right? You're going straight back up to test the one, the only 771, guys, the most stubborn resistance on this chart. Bam, 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 and then potentially bam. But if you do not, I just expect further consolidation in this channel as you look to find a break. Now, with such positive news coming out in earnings, I would expect if you do drop this, I mean, I am absolutely loading the boat. I don't know about you guys, but you do have a couple of gap fills down here to watch if you do not regain 560. And 560, dropping that, guys, would be bearish. Because you'd most likely come down to 514, your first gap fill right here. Your second gap fill living right at 451? Yep, 451. And then below that, guys, you have a little bit more of a drop down to that high fours to high threes territory. So, bull case scenario is you see a absolutely roar back, retest of 560, and then you break and finally make it above 771 for the first time since back here in September. And then the other time you broke back above 771 was right here, guys. And what happened? You slingshotted. 771 was the barrier. So a rejection off of 771, a pump right beneath it, and then a gap up. And that is what actually sent you higher. So that's what we're going to be watching on next week's chart. Let's get into Webull, because Webull, in case you guys don't know, Webull has a great set up for watching these EMAs, MACDs, all the like, right? On the daily time frame, I believe you did leave a gap, a small one at that, but you did leave a technical landmark back at 571. And that is now your third gap, guys, to the upside. 571, 659, and then 711. So I do anticipate those to fill. What was our close here? 550. What is it? Okay, so you closed beneath the 200-day EMA for the first time since 11/20. So the first time since 20 days. Now, NIO has had relative strength in retesting and gaining back above. But if you do not, guys, I anticipate the worst case scenario of filling these gaps at 514 and 451. FYI. I really, really want this freaking channel to hold, because if you hold this channel, guys, you're talking about a potential zoom out cup and handle formation, one of the highest likelihood bullish continuation patterns, in which you would take this cup, right, the stem to the bottom of the cup, and then you put it on the handle breakout. Depending on where that happens, would give you your price target of around $14 to $15. That is the most bullish scenario in NIO stock, in my opinion. Now, what is the longer, more drawn-out scenario, you may ask? And that, in my opinion, is that of an inverse head and shoulder. And if you guys are new, the inverse head and shoulder is a pretty common bullish reversal pattern in which you see the previous lows retested from this initial shoulder, and then you would come all the way back up in a V-line shaped recovery. Now, one thing gets me excited is, regardless of where you go, if one of two of these scenarios play out, y'all, you have the opportunity, right? Because the inverse head and shoulder, you're doing the same thing. You're taking the neckline or the head to the neckline, and you're putting it on top of the neckline. Now, where does that take you? $18, right? So regardless of how you look at it, the long-term play out of this stock looks really, really good. And pair that with a beat of earnings, the last two earnings, a snowball effect in deliveries, I begin to put a bull case thesis on NIO. And if you look a little bit further, it does talk about market context, forward guidance, and all that good stuff. But market context was analysis like Goldman Sachs highlighted NIO's improving margins up 2 to 3% from new models, projecting break even by 2028, a year ahead of prior estimates. Though they remain neutral with the $7 price target, upside of 25% from here, the results underscore NIO's focus on efficiency amid EV competition, with year-to-date deliveries up 41.9%. That is insane. And so when we're looking at a potential bull case scenario on the daily time frame, that is what gets me jacked. But it all starts here, guys, with holding 560. That is going to be absolutely crucial in the next 3 days, 2 days, technically because of Thanksgiving, the next 2 days to come. Tomorrow is most likely going to be a nothing burger the day before Thanksgiving. But what we know is Friday is going to be one of the biggest Friday closes that we have ever seen on this stock. And it feels like it keeps boiling down to that. But honestly, guys, you have to hold these levels. If you don't, it begins to look a little bit more like a head and shoulders on that time frame. Now, short term, that is bearish, but long term, that just takes you into your inverse head and shoulders. So depending on this week's close, that will swing my projection of short-term bearish to long-term bullish, right? So we're going to have to just kind of sit and see. But also, I want to talk about your bounce on the daily RSI, looking as though it is the same bounce that you got back here, the same bounce that you got back here. Now, I think we did this last video, but when we took the tally, right, almost every single bounce, you saw a 50% drop or more. This was, 50. And in case you guys are wondering where I'm taking these bounces, why I'm taking them where they are, I'm looking down below on the RSI, and I'm saying, what area are we at right now? Right now, we're in the oversold territory, beginning to V-line out of it, right? You're seeing that valley form off of positive earnings. And every single time you've been oversold in the past, except for here in this bear flag, every single time, guys, you V-lined out. Even here, 27%. But on average, guys, it's been up to 50%. Another example, right? 70%. 70%. So there are plenty of examples, guys, but what I'd like to see here is that V-line out. And if you get that move, you also set up. I'm just spitting ball, right? Maybe you come back up here to 750, reject. That is then your inverse head and shoulder retest. That ends up becoming your neckline, and then you take that on the interim or on the short term, and $10 becomes your profit target. There are so many different scenarios on this stock that could play out, but it literally all boils down to, guys, can you hold 560? If you can't, short term, this thing becomes a little bit different. So we're going to be watching that like a hawk. Try to think if there's anything else I want to talk about on this stock before we loop it into GameStop, guys. Your Bollinger Bands are expanding. Let's go to the weekly time frame. You did drop beneath the 50 on the RSI. That's a big deal. Dropping below the 50, price becomes a lot more sticky and a lot more stagnant opposed to above it, whereas though you have the faster movement and volatility in price. You have the Bollinger Bands in the weekly time frame beginning to squeeze, which we'll continue to monitor, squeezing for the first time since back here when you saw that rejection and the dump. The monthly, On the monthly, you have the opportunity here to retest your mid-band, which would be significantly bullish. This is something that we have to watch for as NIO shareholders. Is you've seen here on the monthly mid-band, it has acted as support. It's also acted as your rejection and your support. So you rejected it here, came all the way back up. Boom, right, slammed all the way down, came back up. Boom, slammed all the way back down, came back up, traded sideways, broke out, and that led to your macro breakout. So what we're watching here, guys, on the macro of the monthly is we're watching here if you can get, let's say you break 560, you fill the gap at 514, can you bounce off of not just the mid band on the monthly Bollinger Bands? That's going to be huge to solidify this as support. As it's rejected you so many times. But can you get that bounce on the monthly RSI band for, I think, the first time ever? You saw a rejection back up here in the bull zone. Whoops. That is wicked. There we go. You saw this thing kind of flirt, reject, pump back up, pump, reject, pump, support, reject, break back over. Now, if you can get this bounce, guys, you are going to get back above the 50 on the monthly time frame. That is another macro flip for NIO stock to be confirming its bullish bias, right? To be snowballing these technical indicators at a rapid rate. And in my opinion, that's going to be crucial to seeing this upside continue. So we'll continue to watch that as well. Monthly, quarterly. Let's go to the quarterly MACD. Monthly, you're good. Weekly, you are still finding, it makes sense now why you're finding the support where you are. You're literally just riding above the weekly 50-day EMA. Now, holding this, guys, and finding a supportive bounce is going to be so important to finding that weekly golden cross that hopefully will not inevitably take you to the promised land. Take you to NIO 100, because the last time you saw that weekly golden cross, guys, that was during your first markup in which you ran an additional almost 400%. Oh, guys. So it's going to be very important that you hold this weekly 50-day EMA. You did it back here, right? And in doing so, you saw the 9-day curl above, and then this boom boom stick, right, comes slapping right after 50 or 31%. The one thing we do not want to become stagnant here, because if you trade sideways, right, you can technically call it like a bear flag. If you bear flag here, you're going to see this 9-day weekly come smacking you down, and you will move down. That is, in my opinion, I feel the most confident about that call right there. If you do not bounce here, guys, and you consolidate, you're going down further. So you need to see that bounce off of positive earnings and a market rally, which you are getting from IWM. If there was ever a time, now is your time. You saw IWM print a freaking 4% candle on the weekly already, breaking out of this channel and finding a bounce where it needed to. Now, what you're looking at on IWM is a falling broadening wedge break, which theoretically takes you up to 250. Now, that's right around your all-time high. I would anticipate a test of the all-time high in IWM. Alongside with this, guys, you got a green daily cross on the MACD for IWM, which is bullish for our risk on assets. So I'm hoping that you see this thing continue as you see a 3 white soldiers pattern on the IWM with a initial boom boom candle, and then a lessening, and then a bullish continuation in the volume pattern. I'm hoping to see this thing absolutely tear grass and rip you know what, right? If it does that, I would anticipate a new all-time high, which could help act as a leverage to kind of string along NIO higher. And that's what you need. You need NIO to not get stuck in mud, because mud becomes toxic to a stock. 4 hour, you're looking at a potential daily cross, or a golden cross in the 4 hour chart, as the 50 curls rapidly into the 200. That's going to be interesting to watch. The last time you got that on IWM, you saw a pretty substantial run up. And it, oh my goodness, I didn't even know that. Last time you saw the 4 hour golden cross was all the way back in May, guys. And what did you have happen? You had an absolutely insane rally. So interested to see this while you're in extreme fear that it might not be over. I mean, you might be in a prolonged rally territory of 25% or more. And that's fascinating. If you can see this bullish volume and strength continue to pile in here. So that is my coverage on IWM. That's my coverage on NIO, guys. God bless to each and every single one of you guys. I hope you guys are having a freaking fantastic day, fantastic week. And I hope you guys have a great time with your family. One thing remains the same. I'm grateful for each and every single one of you guys. Slap the subscribe button, because we are only, what's the number? We are only 26 subscribers away, guys, from 1,000. Smash it. Let's smash it, guys. God bless. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.